If you think this is a great start, fasten your glasses. This film, The 13th Floor, rated 8.4, inspired Inception and The Matrix. This is truly the pioneer of some cyberpunk films. We're diving into how this movie tells a wild story, and it all starts with a fella named Old Man Fuel. Fuel is about to hand over a secret in a letter to his most trusted friend. After writing the letter, Fuel rushed to a bar, gave it to a familiar bartender, and told him to keep it safe before leaving. Little did Fuel know, the bartender couldn't resist peeking at the letter the second he was out the door, and the contents would turn his fate. Meanwhile, Fuel lay down to rest when his eyes suddenly gleamed, as if he had travelled through a time tunnel, and woke in another bed. Oddly enough, Fuel didn't seem surprised at all. He calmly got dressed and returned to the bar. Just as he was about to pick up the phone, he spotted an old acquaintance at the door. As soon as he stepped out, the acquaintance pulled out a dagger and stabbed Fuel repeatedly, killing him instantly. Fuel was in disbelief. He knew the secret would be fatal, but not so soon. Next, we shift to our main man, Doug. Fresh out of bed, he gets hit with a police summons to head straight to the station. Doug, still a bit confused, suddenly spots a couple of drops of blood on the sink. To make matters worse, he finds a blood-stained shirt in the laundry basket. This bizarre scene set off alarm bells in Doug's head, so he hurried off to the precinct feeling uneasy. At the station, he learns of Fuel's demise, revealing that Fuel was not just his boss, but also a friend. Strangely enough, Fuel had no one in their city and had listed Doug as his emergency contact. Officer Mike asked Doug if he knew who killed Fuel. Doug said that everyone liked Fuel, so he couldn't imagine who would want him dead. But Officer Mike didn't hesitate to point the finger at Doug as the prime suspect in the investigation. So he followed Doug back to the office on the hunt for any possible clue. Officer Mike seemed interested in Fuel's project. Doug said they were developing a new internet field, but kept details confidential. But just then, Doug spotted a stranger woman suddenly appearing in the room. With tears in her eyes, she claimed to be Fuel's daughter just back from France. Doug was completely shocked. Doug worked with Fuel for 6 years, never hearing of his family. Suspiciously, she appeared right after Fuel's death. It all seemed too coincidental, and Doug felt like he'd seen this woman before, raising red flags about her identity. Officer Mike asked to talk with Jenny alone, so Doug returned to the server room to meet Fuel's assistant. Doug asked the assistant if Fuel had ever mentioned having a daughter. To his surprise, the assistant looked puzzled too, saying Fuel had never mentioned it. This only fueled Doug's conviction that Jenny was definitely not Fuel's daughter. He figured she had ulterior motives and immediately followed her after she got into her car. Meanwhile, Officer Mike arrived at the server room, asking the assistant if he wanted to catch the killer of his boss, and if so, he needed some truth. The assistant spilled all the beans about the company's research project, revealing that Fuel had created a virtual system similar. Even though it was a virtual world, the characters had thoughts and consciousness. They even need to eat on schedule, just exactly like real humans. Fuel used this tech to recreate Los Angeles in 1937. People could just upload their consciousness to experience everything. It was practically identical to the real world. This was the secret project of Fuel's company, and Officer Mike and the assistant were blissfully unaware of what lay beneath it all. Fuel had ventured into that world numerous times before, but more intriguingly, Doug trailed Jenny to a hotel. But Jenny claimed Fuel had asked her to come back to help shut down the project, making Doug suspicious of her true identity. But Doug figured if Fuel really wanted to shut the project down, she must have been in the loop. When Doug voiced his concerns, Jenny shrugged it off and quickly called in a lawyer, only for things to take a turn for the worse. The lawyer revealed Fuel had updated his will before his death, naming Doug as the final beneficiary. To top it off, Jenny's name was nowhere in the will. Fuel's last-minute change to his will cemented Officer Mike's belief that Doug was the main suspect. No one gifts a fortune of billions to an unrelated employee, especially when there's evidence that Fuel had a daughter. Police also found that Fuel had left a voicemail for Doug, but Doug insisted he never received a thing. Right now, all signs pointed to Doug as the killer. However, things were far from being so simple. Doug thought he might miss the message, so he rushed home to check. Sure enough, he found Fuel's voicemail. From Fuel's message, Doug realized that Fuel had known someone was out to get him before he was attacked. Unfortunately, Fuel's message was cut off for some reason. Doug suddenly remembered Assistant mentioning how Fuel had entered the virtual world multiple times before his death. Maybe the crucial info was hidden there. So Doug decided to upload his consciousness into the virtual world. But the assistant urged him not to take such a risk as it could But with Doug facing a dead end, proving his innocence was his only shot. With the assistant's aid, Doug entered the virtual world. Though involved in the project, this was his first real foray. Everything right in front of him was so real, leaving Doug utterly amazed. But time was ticking, and Doug needed to find the clues Fuel left behind quickly. After some twists and turns, Doug finally found the bartender, but he had already seen the secrets in the letter. The bartender withheld the truth from Doug, saying Fuel loved to frequent here before Doug returned. At this point, Doug's slug in time was running out, and he staggered into the restroom, soon looking back into reality. Meanwhile, a bewildered bank employee woke up, utterly clueless about how they ended up there. Witnessing the bank employee's rollercoaster of emotions, the bartender seemed to grasp what was going on. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting content.